we've started, Scott, and we are live. And I'm just going to
Awesome.
sit here and doodle. And
I
you are
oh,
doing what? You're the star of the show today. I'll
this
make
is
you the
the
big screen.
well, I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. This is the last panel of issue 3 that I have to ink. If you don't live here in Oklahoma City, today was what I referred to earlier to Ellis as a snow day. Oh, hang on.
Yeah,
Gotta mute this thing.
yeah. I had to mute mine too. we're
Oh,
both
I'm going the wrong way. Okay.
we're both pretty haphazard.
Anyway, the anyway, so I worked on this a little bit, but I was almost done. I probably would have finished up. And I actually stopped working on it because I was like, I want to finish up on the podcast tonight or on the live stream.
Sure.
And I didn't want to have anything not to do while we were talking.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, congratulations on second place last week, dude.
Oh yeah. Did you? Oh
I
yeah.
did
Yeah.
I did
I
not
guess I guess
I
I did
didn't
it after we talked. Yeah.
yeah, you
Exactly.
I didn't I have not watched it, but dude, is that the best that's the best you've done, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, it is. It's we did Venom. I think tonight they're doing one that I know very little about, but they shared all the PDFs of it, and that's Michael Weldon's artwork on a thing called Punchline, and he's got a
Never
lot
even
of
heard of it.
Indiegogo. Never heard of it?
Oh, oh yeah. No, I mean, oh, it's one of those kind of deals.
Yeah, yeah, it's Indiegogo, and
Gotcha.
Weldon is one of these guys that I don't know how it's done, how it comes out of a guy in such a undiluted fashion because I have to draw with all kinds of draw through and
Oh
construction
yeah.
before I draw something. And maybe I ought to start that. I don't know because when I see somebody that draws like that Asian who I can never think of his name, Jung Kung Ho or whatever his name is, the
Kim
guy,
Jong Gi.
yeah,
Kim Jong Gi.
Kim Jung Gi,
Yeah.
the guy that just starts drawing with a brush pen. That kind of drawing is something I kind of do, but I do it
Yeah.
with a little scrappy left behind bit of construction. And,
I, it's
and,
funny
and,
that
uh,
you say.
and I say this about Weldon, Michael Weldon, not Weldon, it's Michael. Uh, damn it. Is it Weldon? I was thinking that was the guy that does Psychotronic Encyclopedia of Film, and I'm pretty sure it is. Who am I talking about?
What's amazing is you're the guy that can pick up an actor's name like nobody's business.
Well, I'm losing all that talent. All those little niches are going away. It's like I think the cliche is that old people only remember the past, and so I'm going to have that sweet
Stuff
spot.
they shouldn't remember.
Yeah, I'm going to remember that sweet spot of my chief trivia days, and that's going to be what I know.
The well, irregardless of that, congratulations on second place. That's pretty good.
Oh,
Have you
that's
sold
that's
it
what.
yet?
Huh? No, I haven't
Have you?
sold it. I haven't
Well, it
sold it. Is
should.
that what you asked me?
Yeah, that's what I asked. If you've sold that piece yet?
No, not yet. It's Matthew Weldon. It's not Michael. That's what I'm getting wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, you weren't far off.
No, I wasn't Michael. That's why I was always calling him Michael because with his last name, I was thinking of Michael Weldon. No, it's Matthew. That's my problem.
Gotcha. One of your problems.
Yeah, one of my problems.
So you did not leave the house today. I didn't. Oh no, that's not true. We left and we drove to Walmart because it started to get better later on the day. And of course, I have a 4-wheel drive now. It's not a
Yeah,
truck,
you got a Subaru.
and I got a Subaru, but it's not. It's a WRX. It's not really made for the 4-wheel drive. Is more to get the power on the ground. It is primarily rear wheel bias. I've discovered,
Yeah,
but it did fine. I mean, when it's icy, you can't stop anyway. We were kind of slow at my work yesterday. And so I texted my crew and I said, well, we're going to wait and see what happens, but probably not coming in. And a lot of that had to do with just the fact we weren't that busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, why kill yourself,
Exactly.
trying to get in bad weather? I could have, I'm sure I would have made it, but man, I don't know if you watched any television, but man, the roads were horrible in terms of like accidents and stuff.
I could tell they would be, and I just left the old car right in the garage and said, you know what? I'm better off just not moving today.
Yep, I don't need to go anywhere.
Yep.
Well, I work across town from my house, and
Yeah, you
so I would have been in the thick of it.
you send
When
your
they say
odds
stay off the
way up.
Yeah, well, when they say stay off the elevated bridges and stuff, I can't do that going to my work. I have to go on several elevated bridges that get pretty slick. Again, I'm not too worried. I mean, because go slow, don't go crazy, and you usually will get there. But it can. I've driven on icy days, and it's taken me 2 hours to get to work, and I'm like, I don't need that today. We're not busy. I emailed my crew, and one guy said he was coming. He called me and he said, "Well, I went into." He texted me and said he wasn't coming in. And then he called me and said, "Well, I decided to come in." I'm like, "Okay." And
So
he said,
they've got that going for them, and they get to like what, hit a time clock, and that counts for
"Yeah,
their 40 hours and all that. Yeah.
right, yeah." Well, as it happened, the guy was sick on Monday, so he was short time anyway. So
Hmm.
I'm sure he did not want to miss 2 days.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah,
whatever.
that
That's
would show up
fine.
on the paycheck pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, he could have taken time. He has time, but he he went in, so I felt like we were covered. So when it got nicer, I didn't really feel. I was like, I'll stay home. I worked on my pod chair
Cool.
a little
Which
bit
is,
until.
yeah, explain to everybody what a pod
Oh
chair is.
yeah, okay. So I don't know if we got anybody watching or not. I'm building a. It was inspired by a I don't see the. Oh yeah, there are 3 people watching. Okay.
Are
Yeah, yeah, there's some people watching.
there? You
Anyway,
startled
so
me. There are
yeah, sorry
people
about
watching
that.
this.
Yeah, the okay, so my pod chair, what it is there's a museum in Oklahoma City called Factory Obscura, which
Uh-huh.
is a branch of Meow Wolf, which is in Santa Fe. The one in Santa Fe is bankrolled by George R. R. Martin,
Hmm.
and it's a museum, but it's more like an interactive kind of museum, and they have a staff of artists that build displays, and it's kind of this interactive thing, and it's pretty cool. But in their gift shop, the one here in Oklahoma City, they have this theirs is like an egg that you kind of sit in, and it kind of immerses you, and it's kind of weird looking on the outside. When you go inside, it's got lights and it's got like foliage, and it makes noises, and it's kind of this cool little environment. And I thought that was pretty cool, and so I said, I said, this is cool. I want to build one. And the girl that was working there goes, oh yeah, lots of people come in there and say that. And I think she was skeptical, but I am in the process of building one. I bought a wicker chair, like with a big clamshell around the back of it, and I extended that around to the front, and I've installed lights on the inside, different LED lights that do different. Some of them do different colors, or some that move, and there's some that just flash. Um, I'm in the process of hot gluing leaves to the outside, which will probably take me a while to kind of cover the outside, and then on the inside, I've purchased some floral stuff, and I'm going to buy some more greenery and kind of build an environment on the inside. And probably next week when we talk, I'll be working on it live, maybe. That's kind of the plan. So
Very
you'll get to
cool.
see. You haven't
Yeah.
seen it, have you?
I've only seen it in photographs you've taken.
I was thinking you hadn't been
Probably
over to my
probably won't
house.
see it until
Next CCP.
the next CCP, which I have no idea when that is either.
It's not this week because I'm busy Friday.
Okay.
But Dave was telling me that that we're about to the point where we can put another one up, so we need to do one.
Okay. Yeah,
But
we do
anyway,
classic cinema podcast, and I guess it's Barry's pick this time. I'm getting the
yeah. So
impression he may do Danger Diabolic on us, which will be interesting.
I saw part. I'd never seen that before, and last month on Canopy,
Yeah,
it was the end of the month, and so I had. This was December, not January. It's the end of the month, and I hadn't picked anything, and so I thought I'm gonna watch some of that. That is a very strange movie.
it is probably Mario Bava is thought of as the Giallo guy, which means yellow, which
Right.
is a reference to pulp
Yeah, it's kind of
magazines.
a pulpy
Yeah,
Italian pulp,
yeah, and
but that's not a giallo movie.
no, it's not, and that is why it's kind of like atypical. You do what as a working guy, you just do what's thrust in front of you. And we talked a little bit about Bava. You know what? That'd make three we've shown of his.
What was the other? I know one was Planet of the Vampires.
Planet of the Vampires, and to an extent, Kaltiki the Immortal Monsters is also
Oh, he was
his.
involved in that.
Yeah, he took over kind of as the director.
Oh, okay.
He was thrust into it by the guy that was kind of sick of seeing him, wallflower his way around on stuff. It's like, come on, get in there and take over. And so he did. And, Kaltiki was one of my favorite. Of course, it was one of my picks. And
Right.
I had that beautiful new version of it that I believe Barry bought for me. Every time Barry steps off and buys this stuff, because I express an enthusiasm for it, within about 2 weeks, it's just everywhere. You can get it, off of
Oh, I think
YouTube.
Kaltiki's on Prime.
Yeah, you can get it on Prime or YouTube or whatever. It's out there. So it
Well,
makes you think about spending $30 for much of anything, because
yeah. I mean,
it seems to be
yeah. I
the
mean,
secret anyway. Is that just send me a note if you guys want something to enter the mainstream. Just send a note to me, and I'll spend $40 to get it, and then it will show up. It's kind of like washing your car.
yeah. I've had that experience a few times,
Yeah,
or bought something and then been like, oh, it's on the store on closeout,
yeah.
or something like that. But it's life. What are you gonna do?
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, Island
Planet of
of
the Vampires.
Island of
Oh,
Terror. I know what I need to buy is there's one that is about these guys that drift into the Sargasso Sea supposedly, and the seaweed is alive and it grabs their
oh
boat.
yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
Oh, nice.
And it's based on. I gotta look it up. It's pretty good, but all of a sudden it's just hard to find. I cannot find anybody offering
Well,
it anyway.
that stuff does that, or it'll get. I had it, man. I was so mad when we were in New York because I went to this comic shop and they had the X-Men Uncanny Omnibus for $50, half price. And it's like the that era of X-Men when Chris Claremont took over and John Byrne was on it and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I want to get this. And then I thought, I said, well, I'll come back by here on the way back and pick it up because I want to carry it around with me because it's big. And I come back by and they'd sold it. I was like, man, I was so mad. But, that's life.
I can't believe this. I have found a copy of it. It's called The Lost Continent. And the way to get it, you have to watch it with the guys from Mystery Science Theater, which may be the perfect way to watch it. So I'm going to.
Yeah.
I found it. It's called The Lost Continent. God, no wonder my parents used to love this show. Somebody just discovered Mystery Science Theater, apparently. What?
Oh, that made me laugh.
Yeah, Mystery Science Theater, way back. It's a Joel one before Mike took over as the hapless guy in space.
Gotcha.
I'm not even completely sure I
Gotcha.
know what hapless means. You know what? That's the great thing about social media like Twitter. You get to look everything up before you post. It's like, did I spell that right? Do I even know what I'm
Oh
saying when
yeah.
I say this? I look it up.
I'm about ready to ditch Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's pretty
I'll
insane, especially if you happen to be following guys like me that want to do victory laps over Mitt Romney and Nancy Pelosi all at once
Oh
politically,
gosh.
and you've got either opposite views or you don't even want to hear about stuff like that. You know,
Well,
you become the annoying guy in the room.
here's my thought on all the. I mean, not on that, but on Twitter.
Yeah.
First off, I don't think Twitter's been good for the comic industry, and I know
Oh
there are a
yeah,
bunch
all
of
this
people that are.
recent stuff. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I know that there are a bunch of people in comics or on Twitter. I know there are comic people that have got jobs out of Twitter. You know,
Uh huh.
being friends with somebody on
Oh,
Twitter.
oh
But I
yeah.
think Twitter is well. Here's the deal. I am dialing back all my social media stuff. I've gotten to where I just find it annoying,
Yeah, well,
you know.
that's healthy. That's very healthy because it
And
is annoying. It's
and
unnatural.
I don't and I don't like. Well, here's the thing. Here's the conclusion I've come to, and apologize to any of my friends that watch this or and hear this. This is, I'm not talking about you,
I'm not
but
talking about you.
oh, over around Christmas time, my battery in my phone died.
Uh-huh.
And so to have a phone that would make calls in an emergency, I'd keep it shut off basically. It was on, but I did not use it for anything.
Uh-huh.
And once I got out of the habit of checking it all the time, I just got to where I realized anytime it dinged and I had a message, it just annoyed me because I felt like it was intruding on my personal life,
Yeah.
on my free time. And I don't have enough free time. Now I'm getting ready to have free time when I finish this panel, but at that point, I felt very stressed out with just this overwhelming amount of
Yeah.
things I had to do, not enough time to do what I want to do, and I just felt like why are these people people would and it was it wasn't their fault or whatever, but I just got to where I resented getting people trying to contact me
Sure, sure. No,
and
I understand
it
that totally.
wasn't again it wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. It was just this idea that I had to constantly be on call, you know.
Hmm.
And so then I had jury duty, and in jury duty you had to leave it off, and it was, and I was in jury duty for a week, and it was very liberating because it was like, hey, this is great. No one can
Yeah.
call me, and,
Hearing
hey,
about this psychopath story that's will make his
yeah, and
so
I'm
much
not
worse than
interrupted,
anything I'll ever do.
right? Oh my gosh, yeah. Uh, but I think this idea, and you don't have a smartphone, right?
I have a smart iPad.
Okay, well, I think people get in the habit of checking their phone all
No,
the time.
I don't do a whole lot of. As a matter of fact, that iPad gets idled so much unless I make myself be drawing with it. That's what and turn the alarm on. That's what I use it for is turn the alarm on.
Oh,
So
but
so
anyway, so that kind of broke me the habit, and so and then after I got my phone fixed, I realized that I don't really care for social media, and I do believe that Twitter is not a good thing.
no.
And so I've decided I'm gonna dial back on my social media, and the first thing is Twitter. Now I am not going to delete my Twitter account, but I've stopped updating it. And really, all I was doing two things. I'd look on it occasionally for news, but I invariably when I did, I get sucked into some kind of conversation,
Sure.
or I would cross post from my Instagram post. My Instagram would cross post automatically, and so I've
Hmm.
decided I've turned that off so it doesn't cross post automatically.
Oh, okay. I
And
guess I probably
so
am missing some of your posts lately. Yep. Okay.
maybe so, because if how you see me is on uh,
Well,
Twitter, you're not getting.
it's how I see your Instagrams usually.
Yeah, then you won't get it. Sorry.
Okay. That's all right. I'll make myself get on Instagram more often. I'm on there
There
pretty
you
often.
go. The yeah, and I mean I don't know where it's
I
going to go
follow
from
you on
here.
Instagram, so anytime I collide with it, all I have to do is check my
Yeah, check
stuff I
the
ought to be following.
and again, it's not really anything. It's just I don't know. The phone, and especially we were in New York a few weeks ago, and like everybody was looking at their phone all the time, and you just realize how distracting it is to people. And it's like I don't want that in my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to dial that back a little bit.
I managed to figure out how to make you the big screen. Before I couldn't figure it out. You have to right click on
Oh, did
the
you?
screen. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I'm the big screen.
you've been the big screen for most of the show.
Oh, have I? Okay,
Hmm.
I haven't been watching the feed.
YouTube feed.
For some reason, the chat is not coming up. I don't know if anyone's. Three people are watching. I don't know if they're chatting. If they've
Says
said anything, I
five are
apologize.
watching. Well, they haven't seen anything worth talking about.
Oh, okay. Maybe they have. There,
I
that might
don't
do it.
know. And
That's
sometimes you know
fine.
what I do this I do the same thing. I'll
You'll
I'll,
get on
I'll
something and then
go to
leave.
somebody's thing, then I'll actually mute it and leave it on so that someone feels like they've got an audience at least.
Oh,
I
that's
I
funny.
don't know how many people do that, but I do it
Oh,
every now and
I'm
then.
not too worried about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're following, that's great, or if they're
Yeah.
watching, that's cool.
Hmm.
Uh, but okay, so what I wanted to talk about to you about, but not necessarily the victory lap thing, but except let me say this. Okay, so pre-Trump, the last two candidates that the Republicans put up were not really Republican. I mean, it's amazing how the Republicans can put up Romney and McCain back to back, and then wonder why it didn't really go anywhere.
Well, yeah, and I think we've had a couple of discussions on that exact thing. How much we hate rhinos as much as we might hate a liberal because they're
Well,
poison from the inside.
hate's a little strong. Hate's a
Yeah,
little
hate is
strong.
a
Let's
little
not go
strong.
there.
Hate is a little
Let's not go
strong. Like
there.
Nancy Pelosi might bite your head off for the notion that she hates. Yep. No.
Yeah. Well,
No.
and I'm not, but it is kind of funny that Anyway, but getting beyond that, what I did want to talk about was Rush Limbaugh.
Yes.
Are you a big Rush guy or not?
Well, I
Or that you're
am
willing
a
to admit?
huge Limbaugh fan in terms of like I have in the past had his 24/7 service, but
Oh, really?
oh yeah, back when I was working, he was my entertainment as I I worked on 3D modeling in the game industry,
Okay.
and for a lot, he's always been in my ears while I worked for years and years, but now that
Okay. I'm with you there.
but
Well,
for the past 6 or so years, I have not listened to him, not regularly.
is
I'll
that just
catch him
because
every
you're
great
not
once in a great
working?
while. What's that?
Is that because you're not working? I mean,
Probably
you're
most,
not
probably
near.
mostly, yeah, sure, probably.
I so I have listened to Rush Limbaugh. There were times where I'd listen to his show every single day. Now, a lot of things like pre-podcast, we'll say, that was certainly the case. I work, for those who don't know, who may listen to this or watch this or whatever. I'm an artist. I work at a place where I can pretty much listen to something the whole time I'm working.
Well, that's the
My
key is that when I was in a cubicle life, yes, I listened to
Yeah,
Limbaugh all the time.
right. Okay, so that's how I am now. My job has changed a little bit, I get it interrupted a lot more because I'm a manager, so I deal with people and questions and all that
Hmm.
jazz. But I still listen to a lot of stuff. Now I listened back in the '90s. I listened, and this is what's funny. How I got started listening to Rush Limbaugh actually came out of the O.J. Simpson trial
Yes. Hmm.
because I would listen to the O.J. Simpson trial. It was ran live on
Hmm.
the radio station here,
I did the same thing.
and then when it ended, I I just kept listening to that station, and I listened to, and then Rush was on, so I'd listen to Rush, and I've listened to. No, I don't listen to him. I don't listen to him. What's happened is I've gotten moved at my work. I'm in a different department, but one time I worked in a department where I was basically by myself, and I had a clock radio in there that I'd brought, and I just played that channel all day.
Hmm.
I didn't have the ability to listen to really pretty much anything. I didn't have an iPod at the time. I didn't have the ability to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of went on for a while until I got moved, and where I got moved then, because of the way the building was, it wouldn't get radio signals, and I was
Yeah,
moved
I've encountered that.
into yeah, I was moved into a department with other people, and so whatever I listened to, I'd have to listen to on headphones, and I didn't have an AM radio that I could put headphones in. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The
so
AM.
I yeah, the AM dial didn't do it. So I kind of listened to them. I kind of stopped. I keep a radio. This is going to sound incredibly dorky. I keep a portable radio in my car because if the weather is decent, I eat lunch in my car.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll listen to Rush a lot during the week. Now I don't. A lot of times I ride with my wife, and I don't have my radio, so I don't listen to them. Then it'll just be listen to nothing because I'm not going to run my. I'm not one of those guys that's going to run my car and listen to the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, that's not me. But and I'll listen to them. You know, they're with my iPad and some of the apps. I'll listen to them occasionally, but I don't listen to them as much as I did. But I mean, I probably listened to them for what was OJ trial?
Oh
Was it in the early
man, when
'90s?
was
Whatever
that?
I've listened. I may have even listened to them a little bit before the OJ trial, but definitely since the OJ trial, I've listened to him. And so, and I don't. And by the way, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with. Um, but I like. I think he's very entertaining,
Yeah.
and that'll go a long ways with me. You know, now I don't disagree with everything he says either. I would, but I mean, I listened to him, and then I had a friend back in the '90s that was listening to him that had got the books, and we'd talk about when Rush did his two books,
Hmm.
the way things ought to be, and what was the other one? See, I Told You So,
Yeah.
and you know, and so that there was kind of that, you know, when you have a friend that listens to something that, or you have this kind of common bond, you know, that's always, you know, the same friend would listen to Art Bell, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that was, you know,
Well,
but
so
he worked
he,
overnight.
he was seeking entertainment, and that just shows you that Rush, if a guy is listening to Art Bell and he's putting equal signs between that and Rush as his entertainment choices, he's just after entertainment. And
Yeah, I mean,
boy,
I don't know how my friend has passed away now, so I don't know how well he read the book, so I would assume he was a little more dyed in the wool than, but the yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like that. For a while, I was listening to Oh, who's the 9/11 guy that got in trouble for Sandy
Glenn
Hook?
Beck. Glenn Beck.
No, 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 not Glenn Beck.
Oh,
The guy to Texas, the crazy one,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. I was listening to him for a while.
Yeah,
He does a
he was a
3 hour
truther.
podcast.
That's all you have to do to get me turned off. Is that if I find out you're a truther and you think we brought the Twin Towers down, you
Oh yeah,
don't
that's a
get
little
much
hard to take,
more
isn't it?
interest out of me if you're that dumb. And of course,
Yeah, it's
then you can't escape the fact that doggone it, this Alex Jones, I can't believe it. I'm actually agreeing with him on anything, and you almost hate
well,
to
that's but
agree with him. You know.
well, but I think that's you. I think it's like my grandpa always says. Even the sun even shines on a
Yep.
dog's butt once in a while,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know,
A
what's the
broken
saying?
clock is right 2 times a
A
day.
broken
Yeah.
clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
So I think it's dangerous to always disagree with somebody. But having said that, sometimes it is you should be careful about that.
But of
I don't
course,
listen to
he's
Alex Jones
paid the
anymore.
price of of social media becoming more and more under the control of the big tech people because he's been edged out. And of course, a lot of
Yeah, I
it's
don't know.
rightful. He's been edged out for dumb stuff like what he said about that all those shootings with those kids, where he I guess he didn't want to believe it so much that he actually thought that
Well, I
there was
don't.
some sort of staging involved in that doggone Holocaust that went
Well,
on with that nut that shot all those,
the school.
the grade school kids up at
Yeah, up in Sandy Hook. Well,
Sandy Hook.
here's the problem. The problem with his thinking is if you believe something, you cannot delude yourself and then that be true.
Yeah,
And so if you say, well, these kids were not really killed, you have to know there are parents out
yeah.
there that are going to be,
When
you
he
know,
put when he
and
yeah when you start getting your skis out in front of you like that, you almost deserve everything that happens to you. You know.
yes, you do not and don't get me wrong, I don't think people should be silenced or censored or whatever, but at some point it should be like, you know, you've lost the right to have a public
Well, yeah,
voice.
and the deal is, I mean, this whole "you've got chocolate in my peanut butter" kind of thing happens with a guy like Jones, because all of a sudden he becomes the media pipeline for people I do like. All of a sudden he is piping Paul Joseph Watson at me, and I really like him.
Right.
He's the guy in England that
Yeah. Oh,
was
he's got good videos.
yeah, he makes very good videos. He's real common sense. He really gets right in the big middle of politically correct crap and shows how stupid it all is, and I really like that. But
Yeah, but
he's directly being brought to you by, in a lot of cases, or used to
yeah,
be, Alex Jones.
nope, his prisonplanet.com.
Prison
And
Planet.
you
Yeah,
know, what's sad is, well, it's yeah, if yeah, Jones has no one to blame but himself for his predicament.
yeah.
He should have thought that out better. You know, you can't say people didn't die, and I mean, unless you know it for a fact, and if you know it for a fact, you know, but you can't make wild speculations about kids. I mean,
Yeah.
so when you're saying, well, they didn't die and this is all an act, I mean, their parents are. It's not going to work out well for you. It's pretty easy to prove you're wrong.
Hey,
You know.
we've got a audience. We've got Farmer Dan and
Oh, we do. Oh, geez, we
Lindy.
have
I
7
think it's
people
Lindy.
watching now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still can't see the chat for some reason. I don't know if anybody said anything.
Uh, People said hello in response to my hello. I typed in just to make
Oh,
sure it worked.
oh, gotcha. I don't even see that. I may have to quit and rejoin. But anyway, I say all that. Well, let me say one thing. You talked about 9/11. 9/11 is where I started listening to Glenn Beck
Oh yeah,
because I'd never even heard of him before 9/11. And 9/11 happened, and at some point he popped up, and he was kind of in the middle of that mix. And I don't know. I like Glenn Beck. Okay, I don't think he's quite as entertaining as Rush Limbaugh, but anyway,
Glenn Beck almost gets his. See, That's the reason my love of Rush kind of stands out. Rush is the purest exponent of the old Bill Buckley pure conservatism that I
oh sure,
chose as my own kind of like political ideology when I was in college, when I was being offered a bunch of real left wing crap as stuff I could be interested in. And I went with getting a subscription to a National Review back in the day, back in
oh
the
yeah,
70s. And I really used to love the National Review. And it was so awful in terms of like graphic design and just real straightforward and on the nose
oh yeah,
graphically. You know, if you looked at it, it was almost like a public service channels, you know, how bad they are. You know, it was
yeah.
basically the low budget notion of your news
All
because,
the
you know,
all
Time Life looked so much better. But I really enjoyed my National Review to read much better than that. And
yeah,
but that has had its day too. Those all those guys on National Review, 90% of them are never Trumpers.
oh yeah,
It drives you nuts. But that's the reason I love Rush, is because he reminds me of the common sense and the straightforwardness of the Bill Buckley era. But you know, all everybody else that allegedly does conservative talk radio, what they're really doing most often is they're doing talk radio, and they do
right.
with just a nudge become shock jocks. They get on
Well,
stuff, they shout at people, and they get stuff that they knowingly know it's just because it's got a little conflict edge to it will get some ratings. And
yeah,
and Limbaugh just ignored all those dynamics of how you have to do it and did it his
right.
way and said, if this doesn't draw a crowd, well, yeah. And he talks about it. He was on his last legs at doing it. He'd been fired like all of them. Everybody in radio always gets fired about 50 times. And
Right.
he'd been fired from quite a few jobs and says, this is it. I'm going to just do it the way I want to do it. And devil take the hindmost, or however you say that. And
That's like Stan
he
Lee,
went for
man.
it, you know.
Like Stan Lee made the Fantastic Four.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. He said, it's that time, you know. Let's go ahead and do what
Yeah.
we
What
want to do.
What's amazing about Rush
We
Limbaugh,
haven't talked about
or
him having cancer yet.
no, well, we're going to get to that. We're
Okay,
going to get
okay.
to that. What's amazing about Rush Limbaugh is there was basically no AM stations. I mean, AM radio was dead when he came around. He revived AM radio,
Oh yeah.
you know, which is amazing. And talk radio, too, at
Oh
least
yeah, yeah.
outside of the,
Yeah. He revived it to such an extent they had people trying to jump on board and figure out how to do it themselves. You know, that whole thing
yeah,
is he caused basically almost a genre that didn't exist
right,
before.
right. I
And
mean,
it was
certainly,
so great to watch all the left wing stuff go down in flames trying to copy it,
yeah.
because there were a couple of examples. It's like, and
Well,
I
the
remember
thing about
listening
it,
to a
and
couple of them, and it was so obvious that they could not do what Rush did, which is just to start talking and continue talking
yeah.
on whatever the topic was. They just didn't have it.
Well, and he's not. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like him, obviously, but
Yeah.
he's not really. He's not unlikable and he's not unlistenable.
Oh
Now,
no.
you may not agree with him or whatever, but he doesn't really rant and rave or like
No.
you said, like some of these guys do. So he's very
No.
listenable.
No.
But
No.
anyway,
He gets
yeah, like you
agitated, but he's always got a reason to be agitated if he does.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, he announced, when was it, Tuesday? No, Monday, that he has cancer.
Yeah. And apparently,
So
pretty bad cancer, I guess. It's one of those,
yeah,
lung cancers, some sort of stage 4 or something like that. And I got to
well, that's what.
wonder, cigars shouldn't just do that to you. I wouldn't think, but
I don't know, man.
but
They don't help.
yeah, well, they wouldn't help. But that whole period where I think he tried to act like the oxy, uh, addiction didn't do it to him.
Yeah.
But no, that's what made him deaf was that oxy addiction. It doesn't
Oh
happen.
yeah.
It doesn't happen to everybody with oxy addiction, but it happened to him. He had it pretty bad, and
Yeah.
his curse on his oxy addiction was that he had all that money. If he had
Yeah.
the right doctor, man, if he really liked that
Oh yeah.
oxy, he could have it.
Yeah. That's yeah. The availability of drugs is not good if you're addicted to them.
Yeah, if
I've
you're,
read enough rock star biographies to know that, man.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
But anyway, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, well,
Uh,
even if he beats it, I can't imagine he'll be broadcasting for a long time after this. You know.
well, he said he'll start getting treatments, and of course that weakens you automatically. It automatically starts hammering at you, and
Sure.
your abilities to stay and even wanting to do anything go away to a
Oh
large
yeah.
extent.
Sure.
And of
Absolutely.
course,
Well.
the other thing is he'll have that temptation of going on drugs again. Because he probably will
Oh
be having
yeah.
pain.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, but yeah. Luckily, other than a few people that I wouldn't expect any less of, have been fairly that I know personally have been fairly, even if they don't agree with him, have either been silent or I wouldn't say they've been sympathetic, but they've been silent. Which I mean, I wouldn't wish something like this on my worst enemy.
yeah, no, no,
You
no,
know,
you wouldn't. I wouldn't wish it on anybody either. Even though I've got a couple just
cancer.
recently, I might. I don't know. Just trying to think
Well,
of worrying about Adam Schiff's health. It wouldn't occur to me, I guess, to worry about Adam Schiff's health too much.
well, you can wish him a happy early retirement. How
Yeah.
about that?
Happy birthday, Adam.
At at work, there's a lot of talk about, that we're always in management, we're always talking about, what if, and you never want to say, what if, this guy that is irreplaceable goes to lunch and gets hit by a bus. So what we always say is, well, what if this guy goes to lunch and wins the lottery and never comes back?
Yeah. And
So maybe you wish Adam Schiff wins the lottery and never comes back.
he's pretty irreplaceable at this point. Even though the funniest, the best thing that happened, and it almost
Oh,
made
I know
up for the whole thing was Jerry
James.
Jerry
Oh,
Nadler
Jerry Nadler.
Jerry Nadler standing up, headed for the podium, and it just surprised O'Shift. And he goes, Jerry,
It's not your turn.
Jerry. He was trying to stop him, and Nadler just marched on up to it and took the last little drop out of the evening. It was very funny.
Well, so I didn't want to get too political there, but
No, we didn't get
anyway,
political. We
but
talked
I didn't
about
want
we
to talk.
talked about Rush and how he's a giant in broadcasting, and it's a shame that he has to go through this stage as a.
Well,
And it's
I've
funny that
listened
it
to the
just goes to
guy.
show you, that old cliche of hey, your health is everything, and it really is
Absolutely.
because it doesn't matter how many millions Rush has. Well, it does to the extent of the care he's going to get. The
Sure. Yeah, yeah, he's got two medical teams.
yeah,
That's probably
yeah,
more than you or I would get.
yeah. He
The
may be able to get a complete blood transfusion and do whatever the heck he wants to experiment and do.
sure.
So
It is. I mean, I wouldn't say I've listened to him every day, but I probably listen to him at least once a week. And for certain periods, I listen to every minute of every show for long periods of a time. And it's kind of odd to think about that being gone in your life
yeah, yeah, it
suddenly.
would be weird. It would be weird.
There's it's I don't know. It's like when Borders Books went away. There used to be a Borders
Yeah.
Books right by my house, and it
Uh-huh.
went away, and it was like Borders Books is gone. Just these changes that it's kind of hard to adapt sometimes.
I was thinking of that while I was in a halfway dream state this morning about, wow, I sure could use one of those barbecue hamburgers like there used to be right around the corner or about a quarter mile from me on 59th. And it's like that hadn't been there in 40 years, Ellis. What are you
Oh
thinking?
no, oh
You
no,
know,
Ellis.
yeah. But it was so good that barbecued. They did something. It was all sauce, I'm sure, and I'm sure it was halfway sugar, is what I was digging
Yeah,
about. It was a
probably.
real sugary barbecue sauce. Oh man, those were good.
Well, we just got back from New York, and I may have mentioned this last time we talked, but another art supply place that I go to in New York all the time is gone. And in the like 10 or so years that Michelle and I have been going to New York, maybe 10 or 15 years, there have been at least four major art supply stores, and most of them had multiple locations. So they were actually chains, had gone out of business, man.
Yeah, yeah, that Amazon effect and Dick Blick effect.
Well,
That's that sort of thing.
It's Dick Blick for them, man. Dick Blick is killing them. And, I like Blick. I don't have a problem with Blick. You get good prices. But, man, everything just becomes so homogenized when you have no
Mhm.
choice.
Yeah,
You just go in and it's like, okay, it's the same thing. And they're all made by by some company that's owned by Stanford, the Sharpie people. And, it's like, oh my gosh, there's just no choice. And it drives me crazy because, I'm the kind of guy that I'm always looking for like the perfect little
yeah.
thing that I can use, and man, you get
Those
everything so
per-
homogenized. You got no choice.
get those
Drives me
perfect
crazy.
tools. Yeah, yeah.
Well, don't get me wrong. I know there's no perfect tool, but man, I just love. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved going to when I was a kid, I'd go to office supply places because there weren't any art
Sure,
stores around me.
sure.
Just looking for cool stuff. That's the kind of stuff I geek out on is art supplies and office supplies, and it's all just
Hmm.
so boring now. It's like we were looking at at work. We were looking at uh, the island of Nassau because the guy was taking a cruise and it was going down to the Bahamas, and he was showing me Nassau. And there's a big golf course, and there's a Outback Steakhouse
Yeah,
somewhere around. We ran across, and I go, I can't. You go to another country and you're eating at a freaking Outback
yeah.
Steakhouse.
Either the franchise, yeah. Well,
Yeah, you did a
that's what
franchise. You
that
could.
guy that committed suicide. That's what he was all about, was giving you a taste of the country, and not going for stuff like that. Yeah.
Wait, who are you talking about that committed suicide?
Oh, that guy that had a program that went around the world and ate different places. And what was
Oh,
his
that
name?
guy. I know who you're talking about.
He was also
Uh,
a comic book
the
artist at one
chef.
time. What's his name?
He was a comic book writer. He wrote he. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Hang on, I got that comic book he drew or he wrote because my friend Langdon drew it.
Yeah, he was a pretty big deal. At one time, he was. I think he was married to Asia Argento, who was one of the
I think
big
they were
ones.
dating. I don't know if they were
Oh, they were
married,
dating.
but
Okay.
yeah. God, what's his name? Anyway, I know who you're talking about. But
I
the
can look him up here in a second.
well, when I was a kid, we would travel because my grandparents lived in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and so we go to Florida. And my parents were too cheap to fly, so we drive there all the time. And we drive down the coast, and there's all kinds of at the time. Every place you went, there were different restaurants, and now, man, you could eat at the same place you eat at home anywhere,
Yep. That's
and that's how.
that McDonald's was the huge instance of that where kids would scream when they'd see the golden arches, and people
Yeah,
on a big long drive would have to pull over and satisfy that thing. Let's see.
yeah.
You've been the big screen for a long time. Let's see your final
Oh,
panel. It looks
I'm
like it
done.
came out okay.
Yeah, here, let me do it. Let me do it this way.
Okay.
I'll
Oh yeah.
So okay, so this is the final. This is the final
Final.
bit here.
Yeah,
They're around the
congratulations on
campfire.
this. This is a milestone. Scott has finished 3 comic books worth of something that doesn't get
But
published until he gets to this milestone.
it was 4. I got one more to do, man.
What?
But
I thought you would reach
yeah,
the point where you can put these things out. No?
no, I've got one more, and issue 4 isn't written yet.
Oh my
So
gosh.
here's the last panel. This is the
Okay.
last panel. I like the panel because
Yeah.
it's the kind of wind. So
It's
here's the
idyllic.
deal. Okay, so they're talking, or they're around the campfire. They've defeated. The girls are working at a summer camp that is infested with demons, and so
Hmm.
they're killing all these demons. But they're working for this demon. They've got this contract, and this demon has possessed this little girl all through the story. And so, kind of the deal is that she's like, okay, I'm not going to possess this kid anymore. And when the kid is possessed, she has no pupils.
Hmm.
So this girl cuts her head off, and this is kind of the running gag because they cut her head off, but she still lives.
Uh-huh.
So that she's laying on the ground, going, "Oh, I hate you all." And so then there's the final wrap up where they're talking about what the adventure, the sunset, and then the demons and the demon head is in the foreground, going, "I hate you all."
Uh-huh.
You know.
That's pretty good. That's pretty it's got a
So
little
that's the
Manola
end.
to it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. The
Yeah.
well, I've been telling people that it's a it's a cross. It's called Heaven's Rejects. If you haven't heard me
Yeah.
talk about it, and I've been telling people it's a cross between Charlie's Angels and Hellboy.
Yeah. Hmm. Exactly.
um, and so we've got 3 issues done now. I gotta scan all. I guess 20 issue 3 is 22 pages. I gotta scan them in. I've got them lettered because I lettered my roughs, and I gotta go back and erase all my pencil marks. I hate that kind of thing. Um, I wish I had an inker. If I had an inker, I'd have been done a long time ago. But
Yeah, that's the
um,
deal. That assembly line,
yeah, I'm
there's a
not.
reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I am not at that point in my career. Obviously, but I issue 4. The writer has not written issue 4 yet. He knows what's going to happen. We have kind of an outline, and he's pretty quick. It'll probably take him 2 or 3 weeks. So in the meantime, I'm going to scan these in, erase them, work on some other stuff. I'm going to attempt to clean my studio. I'm going to work on my pod chair.
Uh-huh.
In fact, next week when you call, I may be working on the pod chair. So I'll be downstairs. You'll be able to see what the pod chair is up to.
Well, that sounds good. Well, you can because you use your iPhone
Yeah, I use my phone. Yeah, I
to
use my
connect
phone, so
with.
that
Yeah.
shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
And I want to show you the book I bought.
Okay.
I did. Okay, so I'm not going to say the name, but I was in New York. I went to a bookstore.
Yeah.
The staff was a little dismissive of me. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I saw this book I wanted called Human Anatomy for the Artist by John Raines. It's out of print. It's an older book. They wanted like $18 for it in the store. I was going to buy it, but in the store, since they were so rude to me, I said maybe I should look on Amazon and see what it's going for. I got it for $6 on Amazon with
Wow.
free shipping. Didn't have to lug it home, and it's in better shape than the one in the store. But it's this is great because I don't know if you can see this or
Yeah,
not.
I can. Well,
It
I
goes
can, but
through all. Well, again, it's just anyway. On my free time, I'm gonna go through this and make some sketches and do some.
mhm.
It's got it goes through all the muscles in the body. It's similar to some of those new Masters Academy videos I've been watching, and so I'm gonna work on that a little bit. I'm gonna work on my pod chair and I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna finish the production work for this issue 3, and hopefully I'll have a script for 4 pretty quick. And issue 4 is going to be a spoof of the 70s, because the story takes place in like the late 70s, early 80s. It's going to be a spoof of those old like Smoking the Bandit and Cannonball Run. It's the girls are going to race cross country. We don't have all the details worked out, but that's what they're going to do. And I've requested that we introduce a character with a mustache and a cowboy hat named the
Uh-huh.
Bandit.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean,
I
your writer is, he's malleable. If you can introduce
Yeah, he
characters.
doesn't. Oh yeah, we've collaborated, but he constantly surprises me with stuff he throws in there,
Hmm.
and I've really enjoyed working with him. Um, he's got some. His name is Greg Wright. He's going through some. We'll say, well, he's going through a divorce right now,
Oh boy.
and so yeah, so that's taken, and he's working, and he puts a lot of books out through Source Point Press.
Hmm.
Um, he's got a book called Monsters that just does really well for him, and he's probably one of their most prolific. I don't know if he sold the most, it'd be but I mean he's probably one of the most prolific writers. And anyway,
Well, it
and
sounds
this will
like
probably
he's
come
pretty
out through Source
smart if
Point
he
Press.
does things like, he probably does a little kind of like market study before he decides what he is going to write, you know?
Yeah, he what Source Point Press does. Is if you're a writer for them, they expect you to go to conventions and sell books and
Uh-huh.
then work their table.
Hmm.
Now they don't expect of the artist, because their theory is the artist should be drawn. And this
Okay.
guy, he goes to, I mean,
Yeah, he's
in
right,
in
I
a
guess.
way, it doesn't really.
Who's probably busiest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the artist has probably got more table time involved in
Yeah.
the book. Um, and they're right, and I'm not saying writers don't input or anything like that. I'm not arguing that they
Right.
work
Writers
less hard
are
or anything like
absolutely
that.
essential.
But
It
just
doesn't
in
get done without what they
absolutely,
do.
but in terms of sheer time at the board, I don't think there's a real comparison.
Oh no.
Um, and so they expect the writers to go out and do conventions, and they pay for everything. They'll pay for them and stuff, but they expect them to go work the table. And as a result, they end up doing about 60 conventions a year, I think. The company does. So they'll have multiple teams at multiple conventions on the same weekend.
Well,
You
that
know,
that just comes from like being smart enough to know things and have a talent stack to where you're like a semi business major that understands, okay, I'm doing
yeah.
this for a living. That's the end of that discussion. This is what I do. And then you're smart enough to
Well,
do things like write all that off, all the travel expenses and all that. And that becomes a business. And you pour all your money in through it. And it becomes like a viable way to, make a living.
yeah. Well, the owner of the company actually has a full time job,
Oh, really? Okay.
but he's a chemical, or I think he's either a chemical engineer or chemist for, I don't want to say the name, but for a large chemical company. I mean, if I said the name, you'd have heard of them,
Mhm.
for sure. And apparently he's pretty high up in the company because he has use of the company jet. So so now there's strings that
The
go with it, but
company
he
jet. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
he
his
can.
daytime job. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, for his daytime job, he can get on the company jet and fly. And there's a whole. It's not like he can use it as he can't say take me to a convention
Yeah,
and go there.
yeah.
But
Take me to
if
a
it's
con.
going
Yeah.
somewhere, it's a big jet, like a commercial sized jet, and it does a route basically. And if he's high enough in the hierarchy that he can snag a seat on that, unless there's a business reason that bumps him.
Yeah.
But he said typically that doesn't happen. There's enough seat on it that it's never 100% full. But anyway, but he's a smart guy. He and he he's a smart guy. He's won a lot of awards. Um,
And he
for
manages
his
to get his stuff out there and gets it optioned and stuff. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a,
he does. They've had a couple movies made. He's done some other stuff. You know the and I like the guy's a super nice guy. I think the world of the guy. I really do. His name is Travis McIntyre. The but the Anyway, I think he'll do well. I'm hoping that the fourth issue's done. I would love to go to San Diego and sell it this year. I don't know if
yeah.
that's going to happen. I don't know if we can get it all because the first issue hadn't been colored. The first issue, my part's done in the first two issues, 100%. But it hadn't been colored. It hadn't been, But if the first issue was done, what would be great, Ellis? I don't know if the
Yeah.
time works out, but if we get the first issue out for San Diego and then get the I don't think there's enough time in between there though. But if the first issue is out by San Diego and the trade out by New York, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Or
Yeah.
even the fourth issue.
Yeah, that'd
Um,
be fun for your New York trip to go to
oh my gosh,
be solid in
I would
that. Yeah.
love, our friend. Well, I don't know. You know Mario White.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you know
He's
he does a
quality.
book
He's a
called.
very good artist.
He's a very good artist. He wrote and drew a book called Sister Powers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Sisters Powers. Anyway, Sister Powers, and it's published by King Spot, and they sent him to San Diego last year, and he called me a few weeks before, or maybe it's a few months before, and it was telling me, yeah, they want me to go to San Diego, and I'm like, dude, you got to do it. And he's like, well, we talked about the cost and some of that kind of stuff,
Had he not been
and
to
I
San
was like,
Diego before? Had he not been to the con?
he had been once before, but he knew it would be he knew it'd cost him
Yeah.
quite a bit to go. They would get him a ticket. They told him they'd give him a ticket and a table, and he said that they told him if he went, they would like his book would be the feature book of their panel of their
Table.
table,
Mm-hmm.
and they would do a big poster behind it, and then they had a panel, and he would be on the panel, and he was asking me about it. I'm like, dude, you've got to do it. How can you not do it? You know, and so he did it, and I mean, he was just like blown away. I've talked to him since then several times. He was just blown away at how much fun he had, and how cool it was,
Yeah, yeah, oh
So
yeah.
I mean,
Comic Con, you can't
and I
touch San Diego Comic Con for feeling like you're part of some sort of big whiz deal thing.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Whiz bang.
I told him, and I meant this in a good way, but I told him I'm very jealous that he, and I wasn't jealous of him going to San Diego because I've been to San Diego, but I just, what he did and the opportunity to go out and sell your book and have a publisher really push you out there, I just thought was really cool. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I was like, man, I'm jealous. That's what I want. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to do that, which sounds kind of weird but
Well,
I
no,
thought if you're
you
going
want to meet your public. You want to have something that goes over. You want to make your mark.
I have decided, years ago I went to San Diego and I'd pretty much stopped, and I decided that I was not going back until I had a publisher that would basically send me
Mm-hmm.
And so I've held true to that, even though I've had tickets last couple of years. I haven't went. I've been tempted, but it's gotten so big that I don't want to go just as a fan. I want to go, with the ability to have go out there and do business, basically. Um, so hopefully that'll happen. If that doesn't happen this year, maybe next year. But
Yeah.
uh,
It'll
I
happen.
it
Obviously, you got all this. You've got potential energy, is what it's called in physics, I think, or something like that. Because
well,
the
I
moment you
hope.
get the once it's published, you've got to go out and sell it. You know.
Well, that's the thing is like, for a long time I wondered like why did opportunities not happen? And in retrospect, I got to say, having a product is really, that's half the battle. And a lot of this
Oh
stuff.
yeah, that's
I mean, if
everything. You
somebody's
gotta.
listening and they want to
Yeah,
make comics, make comics.
yeah. There's
You
nothing
know,
stopping
I
you.
mean, not
There
that
is
I'm,
nothing in your way.
yeah, not that I'm a big success story, but you
You
know,
are your own worst
I've got
enemy.
3 issues. I'm my own. I
Well,
am
no,
definitely
no.
my
I'm
own worst
saying
enemy.
the whatever. The I
Yeah,
is
no.
Anthony Bourdain is the guy I was trying to come up with.
Oh yeah, Anthony Bourdain. Yeah,
Bourdain.
Bourdain. I don't know why I can't see the chat. I hope nobody's commenting. I mean,
Well,
they
no
are,
one
but
is. We had a few people watching. We've already gotten 5 likes, and so that's
oh,
cool.
that's good.
Do
Oh,
you
that's
want to
good.
ever? We probably ought to have a Punk Hero on again sometime. He's always
Yeah,
good
we
to
can
mix
do
it up.
that.
He actually wanted me
Yeah.
to join a show of programming with him and talk about. It sounded like he really wanted to just mainly focus on obscure stuff. But I told him, no, this is
Wow.
probably about enough for me. This and classic cinema podcast.
Oh, you
I'm
didn't
making
want to
my
be on his
mark,
show.
huh? No,
Okay. Well,
and then think
he.
about the other one I do. I every now and then show up on Doug's show. Every now and then I show up on Drawn and
Oh
Quartered.
yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
stream. Yeah, you bet, Lindy.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Now I see the chat. Thank you
Yeah.
for everybody who's listened. Uh, and my headphones are getting ready to die, so I probably need to go. Well, I
Okay.
think we've
Yeah.
been going for
Let's
about an
quit it.
hour.
Let's quit it. Good night, all.
Before we go, hey,
Oh,
before we
what?
go,
What
let
did
me say
you?
one.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're still
Let me.
broadcasting.
Okay, let me say one thing. I'll say it to
Okay.
you publicly because I don't know if we have any local listeners. The 45th Infantry thing. Are you
Oh
going to that? You're
yeah.
going to
Yeah.
that?
That
Okay,
sounds like
so if
fun.
if you're listening and you happen to live in Oklahoma City, next Wednesday is it from 12 to 12:30, Ellis? Do you remember? I can't remember
Something like that.
the
Let me.
45th the 45th Infantry is having what's calling a lunch and learn, which is basically you bring your lunch. It's a lunchtime, but it's a lecture, and then the subject is patriotic comic books during World War II. And so the 45th Infantry is not far from my work, so I'm going to go there at lunchtime. I think Ellis is planning on meeting me. Um, it should be pretty fun.
Well, do you know
It should be
who
interesting.
who our lecturer will be? Do you know?
No, it's somebody at the museum. So I
Okay.
mean, it may be. I don't know how informative it will be. Hopefully, there'll be like slides or whatever.
I just
But
hope I hope he's better than I am at getting up in front of a crowd.
it's somebody from the museum, so they've probably
Yeah.
done a few of these. The it you and I have gone to the 45th Infantry Museum and sketched because they have a nice museum with lots of guns and tanks and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I want to go to support the museum and to kind of show the interest, show that this is a subject that interests me, and to kind of encourage them to think more like this kind of stuff.
Sure.
So we'll see. I'm friends on Instagram, or I have an Instagram follower who works at the museum, and she told me about her. She posted a thing about it, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're probably about to go out. Another thing to mark this in
My head-
time. Rest in peace, Kirk Douglas. So you heard he died, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did. My headphones just died. By speaking of died, my
Okay.
headphones just died. I heard about Kirk Douglas. Yeah.
Okay, ending broadcast,
Anyway.
I guess, Scott. Thanks for we've done it for an hour and 9 minutes. We'll see you next time. Next
Okay. Thanks
Wednesday.
for listening.
Next Wednesday. Actually, yeah, we're getting together, and then I guess that evening we could talk about it.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Okay,
Okay.
in broadcast. There we go.